So here we have two mixed numbers that are being divided. 3.5 divided by 2 and 4/5. Now, in order to divide mixed numbers, all you need to do is just convert the mixed numbers into improper fraction. How do we do this? In order to convert it into an improper fraction, all I need to do is do 3 times 2 plus 1. That will be the numerator. So 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, so that becomes 7/2. The denominator here becomes the divisor. And then the other one, 2 times 5 is 10, plus 4 is 14, so that becomes 14/5. Once again, the denominator here becomes the divisor. Now that I have written them as improper fractions, all you need to do now, remember, when you are dividing fractions, all you need to do is just invert the divisor fraction, flip over the divisor fraction, and then multiply it. So that becomes 7/2 times 5/14. As you can see, I have inverted, flipped over the divisor fraction, this fraction, and now I'm just going to multiply this. So when you're multiplying fractions, it's just top times the top, bottom by the bottom. So the numerator times the numerator equals 7 times 5 is 35, and 2 times 14 is 28. Now, can I simplify this? Is there a common factor? No, there isn't. This is in its simplest form. Now, is this an improper fraction or a proper fraction? Well, clearly, this is an improper fraction. Now, I can leave my answer as a simplified improper fraction, or I can convert this into a mixed number. How do I convert this into a mixed number? Well, you see how many 28s go into 35. Clearly, into 35, there is only one 28 in 35, and the remainder is 7. And the remainder 7, you write it out of the divisor, which was 28, so it's out of 28, so it's 1 and 7/28, and that's your answer. Now here we have 2 3/5 divided by 4. Here we have a mixed number, and here we have a whole number. Now how do you do these questions? All you need to do is just convert the mixed number into an improper fraction. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 3 is 13, so this becomes 13/5. And then the 4 here can be written as a fraction over 1. Any whole number, any integer can be written as a fraction over 1. So this becomes 4/1. And once again, when you are dividing fractions, all you need to do is just invert the divisor fraction, invert the fraction that you're dividing by, just flip it over, and then multiply them. So 3/5 times 1/4. As you can see, I have inverted the divisor fraction. And now when you're multiplying, it's just the numerator times the numerator, denominator times the denominator. My answer is 13 times 1 is 13, 5 times 4 is 20. Is this in its simplest form? Yes, because there is no common factor. I cannot divide by a common factor. They do not have any common factors. So this is my final answer. So my final answer is 13/20, and we're done. Now here we have a question where we have two mixed numbers being divided, then multiplied by another mixed number. How do I do these types of questions? I've seen a lot of times students get confused, but it's actually really simple. You need to remember BODMAS, where the division comes before the multiplication. So we need to do this in parts. Let's do the division first, and then we will multiply it. Now, once again, what we need to do first is convert each of the mixed numbers into improper fractions. So let's do this. So the first one becomes 1 times 4 is 4, plus 3 is 7, so that becomes 7/4. The next one, 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11, so that becomes 11 over 5. And then the last one, 3 times 5 is 15, plus 4 is 19, so that becomes 19 over 5. Now then what we do is we do the division first. Why am I doing the division first? Because of BODMAS, the division comes before the multiplication, so we'll do the division operation first. So let's divide these two fractions. Now if I divide these two fractions, I have 7 over 4, and when we are dividing when we are dividing fractions, remember we have to flip over, invert the divisor fractions, and then multiply it. So that becomes 7 over 4 times 5 over 11 times your 19 over 5. Now what we can do, we can again just do it in parts or just do it in one go, whatever is easier. Well, let's do it in parts. It's much more easier, I think. So I'll do this part first, which becomes 7 times 5 is 35. 4 times 11 is 44. And then I have the 19 over 5 left to multiply with. Now, obviously, as you can see, the numbers here are quite large, so it's easier to just use the column method to work this out. The numerator times the numerator, the denominator times the denominator, 35 times 19. I can just quickly do the column method here. 35 times 19, 9 times 5 is 45, carry the 4 there, 9 times 3 is 27, plus 4 is 31, cross that out, put an X there, 1 times 5 is 5, 1 times 3 is 3, and then I just add up the columns, that becomes 5, 1 add 5 is 6, 3 add 3 is 6, so that's 665. So the numerator 35 times 19 is 665. And the denominator here, 44 times 5, I can actually do this in my head. 40 times 5 is 200, and 4 times 5 is 20, so that becomes 220. So this is 220. Now, is this my final answer? No, because this is not in its simplest form. I can simplify this by dividing the top and bottom, numerator and the denominator, by 5, because they both have a common factor of 5. Now, as you can see here, dividing them by 5, it can be a bit tedious. There's a lot of work involved. But if we go back to the earlier step here, before I multiplied them, I should have realized that, well, here I have 35 and I'm dividing by 5. I'm multiplying by 35 here and I'm dividing by 5. There's a common factor there I can cancel out. 35 divided by 5 is just 7. So they cancel out to give me 7. 35 divided by 5 is 7. So, and then I'm just left with 7 times 19. 7 times 19 is just 7 times 10 is 70. 7 times 9 is 63. 70 add 63 is 133. So my numerator becomes 133 and the base is just 44. So what I'm saying is that when you divide the numerator and the denominator by 5, you're going to get exactly the same answer here. So what I'm trying to teach you is that Before we start multiplying the numbers, see if there is anything in any of the numerators here that can be simplified by any of the denominators. Can you cancel anything out? Can you divide them? If you can, this makes your life a lot simpler, a lot easier. You arrive at the final answer quicker, and you don't end up with large numbers that need to be divided and then simplified. But either way, it's fine.